Love the sound of that on a Monday morning. Good morning, everybody. I'm Neda Iranpour here with our special Brewing Local, where we get to talk about San Diego's craft beer and the amazing breweries that make up our community. And this morning, so happy to talk to Peter Zien himself with AleSmith. Peter, it's so good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. And while I'm thanking you, thank you for what you do for the local craft beer scene.
It is my joy, absolutely, because we get to talk to our friends on Mondays. It's one of the best ways to get through any weekend. I'm like looking forward to going to work every Monday because this is what we get to do. So Peter, AleSmith has some deep history there. You're going on what, more than 30 years now?
Yeah, we're 31st year, 1995 established.
Wow. 1995. How much has changed since then?
Well, quite a bit. And, you know, I feel like I'm from a land that no longer exists when I think back of those days. But we were setting the foundation for what San Diego is today in the craft beer scene and around the world.
Because when you started, when AleSmith began in the mid-90s, there were a handful just kind of getting things going, right?
Yeah, Carl and Pizza Port. And, you know, I'm the second owner. I took over in 2002. 1995 was Skip Virgilio and Ted Newcomb got it off the ground and established high-quality standards, and we remain friends today.
Amazing.
And I've always wanted to just feel like I'm standing on his shoulders trying to take AleSmith further and further.
That's awesome. So 2002 is when you became the official owner, CEO.
Correct,
yeah. Okay. Tell me about that. I mean, it feels like just yesterday. 2002 is, I guess, a few
it does,
years ago.
And it feels like a million years ago also. But yeah, you know, I had kind of a white collar background before that with my law degree, and I was running a finance business. And then I show up day one, you know, July 16th, 02, around 11 a.m. I have the keys, and I walk in there with my gold watch and my button shirt and tie. And that was my life flipped on that day, and I'm going home covered in barley and hops and smell.
The best smelling things of all.
And it was, you know.
And T-shirts, might I add. Nice T-shirt you got there.
And I was extremely happy.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. Were you into beer before all of this?
Very much so.
Okay.
Very much so. In 10th grade, when I was 16, I had a 300 bottle collection of empties in my room that I built shelves for. I was just my parents were a little older. They took us to Europe young, and so I ran into some of the greatest beers in the world young, and then became a home brewer. Nice. And with Quaff, the local group, and was president. We were national champions, and we were California champions, and I wanted to just keep going, and it was all about the art. It's a blend of art and science that you can't find anywhere else.
Right.
Brewing's amazing.
And for people that don't realize, there's like petri dishes that are involved in all of this. I mean, there's a whole lab.
It doesn't have to be rocket science, but it certainly can be.
Yeah. I mean, to make sure it's good quality, which
Right.
we experience at AleSmith, of course. So many people know AleSmith as this fun spot. We've had multiple work parties there. I had our baby shower. I got to do hip hop in the back event space with the barrels while 8 months pregnant at AleSmith. And my family still talks about that great brewery we went to because they all visited from out of town. And so, yeah, we have so many good memories there. Tell me what that's like to be a part of people's memories like that.
No, we're thrilled. And, you know, our team members are what makes this happen. And you have to be a special person to work at AleSmith. And we have the greatest, and I'm not going to name names because I'll leave someone out, but we have great brewers, a great president running the company, the tasting room, everything's firing on all cylinders, and it's a 5-star service where we're just going to make you feel comfortable. We're humble, and we just want you to have the greatest time. And like the difference between a 4-star hotel and a 5, we want to be that 5-star where yes, directions will lead you there, and there's, park your ego at the door, work hard, and we'll all get to the promised land together.
And you could tell, I mean, when you walk in, people care about whether you're happy and how it feels, and we feel like we're part of your family.
That's wonderful.
Because we brought our whole family in multiple times. So I apologize for my children rolling around all over the floor.
No, we love kids. Kids, dogs, anything you want to bring.
Yeah, and like there's always, you know, the good food that's out in the back or the front area, I should say. But yeah, it's a great environment for, I think, everyone to just feel welcome, and great beer to go with all of that. So tell us, I mean, I know obviously some of the big name beers that you sell. We see 394 everywhere. What are some of the big ones that people keep coming back for that you keep on having to brew because of demand?
Yeah, that's for sure one of them. Our Nut Brown Ale is extremely popular. And then, of course, Speedway Stout, King of the Castle.
So
there's people who live for that beer. And so, yeah, we're just, our lineup Right now, if you go in, the menu you'll find over 40 different beers.
Wow.
Of only which a dozen of those hit
Okay.
wholesale around the country.
Nice. And there's been a few times where I've come in and I've tried something kind of wacky. Like they're always experimenting, right?
Innovation's a big part, especially nowadays. Beer is a classic beverage, but we feel like we're scratching the surface of really. We've only known for the last couple of hundred years how beer is even made, through science. So we press the team to come up with the next greatest, but we also want to remain true to our roots and brew classic styles.
Right. Which you do very well, and those
Thank
I think
you.
always will, set you apart. There's been many times we've come in. I've had your beers on our keg at home, our kegerator.
Nice.
Everyone is very yes, I will say. Anything I've randomly asked are like always so helpful and very much yes people. Tell me about that. I feel like that comes from the top.
But that's the beauty of beer, right? It's inclusive. Bless the wine people, but some people find that they don't know enough. They're scared to go in a winery, but everyone eats and drinks, and you can use those words to describe what you like. Right. If people don't know what to order at AleSmith, we'll ask them, so what kind of things do you like?
Right.
And then we'll try to give you a direction.
Nice.
And we're never offended if you don't like it. That's why we make so many different beers. Yep. You'll find one you do like or a bunch.
And you will always find a smiling face there, which is always lovely. We're going to take a quick break here because we have a great story to talk about with the Padres, AleSmith and the Padres and the connection of that. So keep it here. We're going to take a 2-minute break and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back here. All right, I'm joined with Peter to talk about AleSmith, the owner of AleSmith, and your Padres connection obviously cannot be missed. I mean, you walk in and you feel the Padres. I love the merch too, and the look, the golden browns, and everything that you see through AleSmith and what you've done. So tell us, I want to know how this all started. How did this connection come to be with Tony Gwynn?
Right. Well, we're very privileged to have a relationship with the Gwynn family, and how we met Tony came through an attorney who knew the Gwynns and knew us and knew my story. I had poured beer at their law firm back in 2007 when I had to run around with growlers, and he remembered me and he remembered my story about AleSmith's integrity, trying to be perfect brewers, knowing that we can never be, but we're always going to try. And something struck a chord with him that's very similar to how Tony approached baseball. Wow. So phone rang in early 2014, and he said, "You may not remember me as an attorney. I gave you my card, blah, blah, blah. I have a high-profile sports figure who'd like to make his own beer.
Amazing.
Do you want to guess who it is in San Diego?" And I said, "Well, short list for San Diego. I'm going to guess Dave Winfield, Phillip Rivers, or Tony Gwynn." He goes, "There it is."
Wow.
And so fast forward,
Amazing.
48 hours later, my wife and I are sitting in our car in front of the Gwynn's house, nervous as heck that we're going to meet this man, this legend. And we saw some fancy cars come by, some attorneys and stuff. And all of a sudden, right at 7, we pushed the doorbell and the door opened, and there was Alicia Gwynn with her beautiful smile and her daughter Anisha, and welcomed us into their house. No Tony at this point, and I brought 4 of our beers to sample.
Okay.
And we sat and we talked for about a half hour. And at that point, Alicia said to her daughter, "Go get tea." And around the corner came this giant of a legend of a man. Wow. And my wife is a huge baseball fan, and her fingernails went into my thighs under the table. And Tony approached us friendly as can be, but battling. He was going through a health issue, and that eventually took his life just a few months later. So
a few months later.
Yeah. So we sat at that table, and admittedly, Tony wasn't a beer expert, but heck, I can barely hit a baseball. So we were just going to talk this through and tell me what you're looking for, Tony. And he said light with a kick. Okay. That's all we had to work from.
Amazing.
I started blending beers. I put a little bit of our extra pale ale. You old-time AleSmith fans will remember that beer. I mixed it with our IPA. And I came up with kind of a lower alcohol IPA that had a nice hop kick, but not a lot of bitterness.
Okay.
And he said, "That's what I want." So we designed 394 pale ale. That meeting went very well, and we got out to our car and we sat there, and my wife and I shed a tear watching this great man really having a struggle with his health and with the cancer that he was going through. And my text went off, and I looked, and it was from the attorney who had introduced us, and it just had one word. It just said home run.
Oh.
Yeah, and it went really well.
Wow.
And so from then on, we created all the art. We ran it by the Gwynn family.
Okay.
We expected to have changes. They said, don't change a thing.
Really?
Tony,
They loved it.
We premiered the beer on June 6, 2014 at the Padres Beer Festival. It still holds the record for the fastest kegs. They went through 3 half-barrel kegs in 44 minutes.
No way.
It's not even turning off the taps at times, just doing
flow.
glasses under it as people wanted to try Tony's beer.
Oh, for sure.
And then we got the call on June 16th that Tony had passed, just 10 days after the premiere.
Wow.
So we asked Alicia, what do you want us to do with this beer? You know, and she said, oh, Tony wanted it everywhere. You have to continue doing this.
Oh, my goodness.
We donated all revenue from that beer in year 1 to the Tony and Alicia Gwynn Foundation. And it's been, the majority of the beer we make is $3.94 Pale Ale. Right. And they say it's Tony's last hit in San Diego.
You said this story would be emotional, and you are right. I can't believe the timing of that.
And we promised Alicia we will put our heart and soul into every drop of this beer we make. And we're grateful for the fans of this beer in San Diego that continue to make it San Diego's most popular pale ale. That
means so much now when you take a sip of that beer. Just know the story, knowing where it came from and the connection
not made
you had.
For Tony. It was made with Tony. That's what people, it's not just, we'll pay you a royalty, slap your name on it.
Right.
You know, he said, I don't want people just having this once, and I said, well, that's why you're talking to us. Right. We're going to make this a great beer.
And we see it everywhere.
Yeah, I'm
You're living
extremely
out
grateful.
The dream that he had for this beer. You're doing it.
And it remains my high honor of my career to work with Tony Gwynn, even though we've been Brewer of the Year at GABF and have 24 medals and all that.
Yeah.
None of it compares to working with Tony Gwynn and creating this beer.
And to have the approval of him and his family, for them to say, keep going, get this everywhere.
And we still remain very close to the Gwynn family.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Great people.
Oh, they certainly are. We've had them on our show a few times. And of course, his wife, just such a wonderful lady. So to have that connection, how special. And you you got me.
I warned
with that
you a little
one.
bit.
You did.
Yeah.
You did. I didn't realize how deep that story went, and the fact that you were at their house, invited over to start this whole process.
And she made us family right away, even though we'd only known each other for a number of months. We were there in the white chairs down in the stadium during his funeral and went to the memorials at San Diego State. And she made it very clear that you're now part of the family.
That's beautiful.
So
that says
we
so
love
much
her.
about
We love
them.
the family.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then obviously the impact they've had on San Diego in so many beautiful ways of giving back. I know that's a big part of who you are as well. So I'm going to use that as the segue here. Keep it here because we're going to take a break right now. But when we come back, we'll talk about AleSmith and their ability to give back in so many incredible ways through their Anvil of Hope. So stay with us. Welcome back here. Peter, you had me in tears basically talking about your connection with the Gwynn family and how beautiful that bond came to be. But you also had a funny side of it all. Tell me about Tony Gwynn at the time and his purpose. Really,
some people ask, why did Tony want to be here? And
it
comes down to the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies in Cooperstown, New York, when Tom Seaver had a wine made for him. And Tony was looking forward to trying it, but Tom would not give Tony a sip even.
He didn't share.
He did not forget that Tony got a game-winning RBI off him.
Oh, it's
when they played and he said, "You got to be kidding, Steve! Come on!" And he's like, "You're not going to get this wine."
He didn't share his wine.
So Tony decided, "I want to make a beer for the hitters."
Okay.
And I actually have a bottle of that Tom Seaver wine at home.
Is it any good?
It's unopened and will probably never be opened.
Don't judge that.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I mean, take that then, right? Now everyone can enjoy this $3.94.
Right.
In all the ways. So now let's talk about, obviously with breweries, you can do a lot of good in San Diego, as you do with the business, the hiring of incredible people and supporting all of that and their families. But there is another aspect to AleSmith that's really unique, where you have this whole charity that you have created, the Anvil of Hope. Tell us about this.
Yeah, well, so that's a brainchild of my wife, Vicky Zien, amazing woman, and I'm fortunate to call her my wife and me, her husband. Wanted to have a charity. I've always kind of wanted to make AleSmith a charity. It kind of goes back to the alcohol business kind of gets a bum rap that we can hurt communities and stuff. So Stone sort of set it off when they were doing their festivals that benefited the Boys and Girls Club. Right, and so it kind of struck me, we really should be giving back to our community. So in March of 2020, which people know what happened in that month, pardon me, we started Anvil of Hope.
That's when it began, without obviously knowing what the world would be like. Yeah.
Right, and we wanted to break the cycle of poverty and work with at-risk youth, but we pivoted in the beginning to help people affected by COVID. So in those first 2 years, completely volunteer run. My wife heads up every department from raising money to the distribution and helping of the families, and she's all of our revenue comes from the generosity of our donors and from the fundraisers that we hold annually.
Okay, so to help out youth, I think for a lot of San Diegans, we all live in our happy, lovely world that we don't realize there are so many kids that are homeless, that are trying to go to school, and you and your wife are able to help those kids. Tell us what you're able to do for them.
Yeah, so, taking our baby steps, trying to figure out, how we're going to work with the San Diego School District and some private schools. We just couldn't believe the number of children that really struggle to have food on their plate, shoes on their shoes on their feet, and clothes that fit them, and we started working slowly and one kid at a time. So we work with Bell Middle School, Crawford High School, and some Our Lady School in Barrio. And what we do is my wife really tries to keep them occupied with after-school programs, and then direct help if you need hygiene products. The family. There's that big flood that occurred that displaced family. We all of a sudden got all this hygiene products to them and anything they needed. We help individual families with direct donations of money to them, and then after school programs to keep these kids out of trouble. And then probably her proudest achievement is the Bell Middle School, the Bell Blazers.
The Bell Blazers. Let's take a moment for them, because this is what all girls baseball players.
Middle school baseball team, not softball, hardball.
Yeah.
And my wife's big on, if a guy can do it, a girl can do it better. And she pushes. She's just a dynamo. My wife. She is the heart, soul, and the engine of Anvil of Hope, and that's why it's so great. So the Bell Middle School Blazers, which your station was kind enough to profile.
Yes.
I think it got Eric and Emmy even.
I remember this story very vividly.
And so, and then she does things like she'll rent a limo and take them to go see The Lion King, a Broadway production, or other. So they're getting to experience things that they otherwise wouldn't, and it helps them to dream, and it helps them to look bigger beyond the four walls of their existence right now. And that's the thing, breaking the cycle of poverty. You can do more. You don't have to get sucked into this circle of owing money and never really climbing out of it. And God bless these families. I know they're trying their hardest, but Vicky's really trying to she has after-school mentoring programs where they get to hear a professional speak about their whether they're a beekeeper, whether they're into astronomy, whatever it is, get them excited about things. And so we rely on donors. So if you go to anvilofhope.org, you'll see all sorts of opportunities to either volunteer your time or donate, or to attend our wonderful galas and other events that we do.
Okay, you do these major events to help raise funds, and it's all going to them, right? I mean,
right.
Directly.
The thing about Anvil of Hope is you're not going to Google this and find a CEO running this, getting $1 million salary. I say of the $1 you donate, about 96 cents of that's going to go directly to help.
Right.
And
because of your wife doing all this hard
work. And we already have a
volunteers.
place to have the office. We already have salaries from our brewing jobs. So we're really trying to help, and we do gifts of stock as well, and which can help you as well in tax benefits.
Okay.
So,
and during the holidays too, you're able to help out so many.
The 350 families that we get hams and turkeys and dinners for, and we distribute, and that's a cry fest as they hug you.
I bet.
You just cry all day on
I
those
mean,
ones.
they appreciate it so much, and I think that's where a big name like AleSmith can do so much good, which you are, because it's hard to figure out how to make it work, but you were able to.
It opened some doors to begin with, but my wife, she's amazing. She's running. It already is a big thing in year 6, but it's going to be even bigger.
Yeah, wow, amazing! I can't wait to see how many more families they help. All the other middle school kids. I mean, you think about how hard it would be to not have a home, and this is the direct impact you're having on these kids that don't necessarily have a set bed to come home to every day. So thank you for the work you and Vicky, your wife, are doing. You're incredible. Yep. So glad to see it. Where else can people go? Anvilofhope.org is the website.
Obviously, AleSmith.com. You can follow our socials. We have tasting room. We have a new app. You can go get our app, AleSmith app. You get some free stuff, and you get $1 off beers every time the Padres win.
Oh, see, look at that, $1 off beers. That's a good one.
So
yes,
get our app
and hear about all the new things that'll be coming, all the events you have going on. There's nonstop fun.
Golf simulators, axe throwing, you name it, you can do it at AleSmith.
Axe throwing? I haven't seen that one. Okay, awesome. We're gonna take a quick break here, but keep it here. We'll be right back in just 2 minutes. All right, so this is our last few seconds here with Peter with AleSmith. You got to tell us, the tasting room, no wonder it feels so good when I walk in. Tell us, how big is this?
It's over 20,000 square feet. It's the largest beer tasting room on the West Coast, and it's rated for about 1,000 people.
On the entire West Coast, think about that. You can bring anyone you want in there.
You'll always have room, and you'll have fun. We have air conditioning on those hot days. We have an outdoor patio. We have food trucks.
I love it. And plenty of TVs to watch all the Padre games.
Every Padre game is televised. And,
amazing.
Thank
you so much. We are going to have this episode, if you missed any of it, at cbs8.com/brewing-local, and we'll see you next Monday.